It's really great to be here and to moderate this panel about innovation in Tallinn, which actually I don't know much about because my background, as Lee said, is a community activist, and my present working place is National Heritage Board, which might sound as something not really connected with innovation. And that's also what I thought when I was first asked to moderate this panel, that what at all do I know about the topic. But then we started to talk with Ralf Martin from TalTech. Please come to the stage. And with Thomas from Tallinn City Government. And we discovered many interesting topics. So before we start talking about them, going more in depth, maybe you could introduce yourselves with a few words.
Hello, my name is Ralf, and I have been working with various digitalization and automation projects on the city level the last 5-6 years. And I'm very happy to be here and share some of ideas with you.
My name is Toomas Türk, and I'm the first ever innovation manager for the city of Tallinn. I just started, maybe I'll just move a little bit this way. I just started 6 months ago, and my main goal is to be the gatekeeper for the awesome people like you from startup companies to interact with the city of Tallinn, and also to work with innovation platform projects and program for the city.
Thank you very much. And before we start our panel, I would like to map a bit your expectations about this panel. That what are you willing to know from these people, as it's a bit different from the one that is going to be in the big hall, I think at 3:30 something, that is about smart cities. The panel we have is a bit different and better in my opinion, because we have here like a really smart city expert who is well connected with many projects. And we have like a specific site, Tallinn, that Thomas doesn't represent, but represents it at the same time. So maybe we can be more specific in this panel. So if you have any questions, or expectations, I would really be happy to address them during this panel. So please think a bit, and then hands up, please. What would you want to know? Well, please.
So what Tallinn is doing to make more attractive environment for digital nomads?
That's a very good question to start. Yes.
Maybe, okay.
Okay, we just listen to the questions and then or answer later.
Yeah.
I was wondering, there's a lot of things happening in Estonia, especially on a national level, but how do you interact with citizens actually? Because there's a lot of talk about startups, government, ecosystems, but where are the citizens? How do you interact with them?
Really good question. Any more questions? Any more hopes for the panel? Well, actually, it's not that you can propose your questions only now, but later on, if you have anything to add or comment during the session, please feel free to do it. And thank you for the questions. I think they're really great ones. For my personal interest, especially, I like the last one, because I'm also willing to know what Tallinn or what we could do for the citizens. But before we go to that topic, actually, as a citizen activist, I really don't think about innovation like daily. So I think we could start with a small introduction what innovation in cities actually is about. Or when I think about innovation, I tend to think that maybe let's stop talking about innovation, because we have so many things that actually don't work in the city. For example, in Tallinn, we have public transportation system, but it's so inefficient. So why do we talk about self-driving cars or I don't know, other really cool, but in my mind, like a bit innovations a bit out of context in Tallinn. So what is the innovation in what is the innovation in cities?
You can give this university approach as well, but for the city itself, actually yesterday was Tallinn City Day, and Tallinn has a city rights now for 771 years. It's really amazing. So we somehow have been over the centuries quite innovative. For the cities, the innovation usually is starting from a very minor and ground level. This is something that the cities are for the citizens, for the entrepreneurs, for the investors, but also you need to consider the political interest at the people who are running the city. So from my point is that the city itself as innovative is intelligent community. Intelligent community for everyone who is actually working in a city, wants to live here, and also to visit the city.
Yeah, so when I entered this area, actually I was working for people that were hands-on involved in building the e-government of Estonia. And back then, this was before the e-residency program was initiated, and back then at some years the e-government was claimed to be standing still. And I was then recruited, and my goal was that whatever you do, just figure out how to kick off new projects to carry the story onwards. And that was like 6 years ago. And then very accidentally, I ended up meeting or ended up having the site visit to the city of Helsinki's development company. That was initiated by the private sector and later bought over by the city of Helsinki, and so they are the kind of innovation company of city of Helsinki. And so on my second day, when I had this role that I needed to develop this e-government somehow forward, I visited this Forum Virum Helsinki company that was talking about smart city all the time and innovating city and how to do it. And back then, obviously, when you are in this environment and you see that such a small country can actually have that good brand in one specific area, which is e-government, from west to east and from south to north. So everybody globally is literally envying Estonian e-government. And back then I was thinking that why don't we have the same for the cities? And if you actually look at it fundamentally, when there is no challenge actually to make the cities of Estonia as attractive and as innovating and as strong as both fundamentally and as a brand as well as e-government in Estonia, what has been doing. And that has been at least my mission since the last 5-6 years, and also that has been Toomas's mission also 5-6 years. And if you actually learn from this experience how e-government was built, when we actually can transform and build it forward, because all kind of strong and successful projects need continuation as well. And our role here is just to build it to the urban level. And obviously, it's very nice being in the audience and you get all those nice talks about big concepts and so on, but very often you actually wonder what these people are actually doing in their everyday life. And if I, and probably the same for Toomas, if we actually would explain it, then actually I would say that 90% is very similar to what the startup companies are doing. So we are in this very risky environment. We are all the time looking for funding for new projects, new ideas, and we have all the time this challenge that we are lacking the resources at some point, and then we have this challenge that we do too much resources at other time. So we're going from this cyclical element all the time. Only maybe the challenge, only the difference is that we have to work with grown-ups more when you have to. So you can be more with like young, enthusiastic people, but we have to work with those like universities, cities, and bigger companies as well that are so much more established in their setting. And yeah, so I have been working on smart city area the last 6 years, and I've been initiating approximately 10 smart city projects where the cities have been involved, and where we actually want to make some kind of change in the environment. And they range from some smaller bilateral agreements to actually now the ambition to set up like the global smart city center of excellence based in Tallinn. So this is jointly with Finland as well. And this is already like by ambition, this is already like a 50 million euro project where close to 30 million is granted, but the aim of this Finest Twin project is just really like to contribute with research and actual piloting projects as well to make living in cities easier and to make cities more adaptive to new innovations.
Yeah, thank you both for those shorter and longer, but for me quite theoretical answers. Actually, I would like you both to bring some like specific examples that about innovation in cities, or what to consider as a positive and as a positive innovation that we could more also see in Tallinn.
Yeah, you made a very good point that actually we need to look at the cities as also the startups, because otherwise, yes, cities are like society, so you need to have several interest groups or stakeholders you need to involve. But at the same time, going to practical, of course, we have, as a local government, benefited a lot from this state government decisions. So that we use the same ID, public key infrastructure services, the same database system. Almost the same services are integrated with the local government services. So this is where we see actually let's say, one of the biggest progress also on local government level. But at the same time, we also would like to see what this legislation part is giving us. And Estonia or Tallinn itself is not a market, a big market. It's more like a test bed, a living lab where you can try different things out. And almost for 2 years now, it's legal to have these robots on the street, these autonomous vehicles, AI strategies which are implemented here. What else we would like to see on a practical level is that, and we have these capabilities on a local level, it all starts from urban planning. So we need to look at the changes or what can be done through the innovation through the urban planning perspective, but at the same time also to let's say, in Tallinn we have, for example, this digital twin, which is everything that is physically visible is also virtually or digitally usable. So there is a lot of data management. This is what is available. And this is one of the perspectives that we have started with very short steps, but it's possible for interrupt or disrupt this with the new business models, or just for the interest for the open data, for example, and etc., to make some changes. And one more comment is that if you are talking about make this innovation together with a local government. There is very important topic. It's related to the process. Usually the startups are minded that it's a goal or what is the outcome of the innovation or the project. But it's more important to look at this as a process. What you can do, the difference in a process, how to make the change there. And then you will see the results.
But Ralph, could you bring maybe some examples? They can be from the projects you are connected with, or they can just be examples from somewhere else. But what is, well, bring some examples of like innovation in cities. What does it mean? If you would have to,
first of all, what I want to say that innovation in cities is not a question to the city government only. And cities are not city governments. City governments are just responsible for like some functions in the cities, mainly like public transport and urban planning. But innovation in cities is actually in the hands of everybody, and ranging from citizens to universities to startup companies to bigger companies. So this is like a joint activity. And when we are talking about city level activities, and a lot has been in a field of, I would say that mobility and especially mobility jointly with data as well. So we have had several projects. I actually started working with the city of Helsinki first, and then I started working later with city of Tallinn. So most projects I have are somehow cross-border, and we even go out to some other cities as well. Actually, all over Europe, we go out to other cities. But I think what has been like a really starshipy flagship project here is everything related to robotics. Really like that I participated one like larger consortium meeting in Barcelona in February, and when I introduced the concept what we have in Taltech, that how autonomous vehicles, whether like buses, delivery robots, communicate with pedestrians, other cars that are not automated and so on. And when we actually explain some first use cases as well that are in operation already, like you can order pizza and you can order groceries with a robot, and it's fully automatic, or like at least it seems like fully automatic. When like a lot of people over there were saying that okay, we're not lagging behind, but this is like utopia, in at least in Barcelona, that they are still thinking that how to do their first like robot bus project, and the other thing is that city government has a lot of impact on how innovation is taking place in the city environment, and the most important part is that the government actually, both city government and central government as well, that they are more in a position to enable innovation, not to block it, because in most cases actually cities are in a role to block it, not because they want, not because Thomas is a person who wants to block innovation, it's the opposite, and most people actually want to enable it as well, but just city is acting by regulation, and the regulation is sometimes very heavy, and this regulation automatically is not enabling new projects that are different from previous ones. So very recently, regarding two mobility projects, we are concluding a set of pilots between ports of Helsinki and Tallinn on how data can be better integrated, how heavy goods vehicles could enter the ports in being virtually queued up, and also we have on Helsinki side quite interesting platform of traffic prediction and traffic estimates, linking all kind of databases, and also like so there are several projects like this, and then in terms of robotics, in a month from now, we are launching 1.5 year project also like in Kadriorg, where we put one autonomous shuttle on the open road for 6 months. And this is mainly towards citizens and tourists to actually see how this works, and then they can actually step inside and have like a real touch of that. But I would say that main projects which has been successful have been in the field of mobility. And then we're also launching another project that we are analyzing the potential of adaptable streetlights in the case of Tallinn. And then when we want to do some mini pilots as well on this. But it's in preparation stage. So let's hope that next year we already have some kind of street lights which are adaptable in place. But yeah, so many projects are linked to this. Like
Just a comment also that. Yeah, we also do some pretty practical cooperation with Waze, for example, for the traffic management, and there are certain new technologies which are tested, like 5G. But I also encourage to learn from, it's not only the city government or these people who are around the project, but I encourage to learn also and get introduced with certain areas in the cities in the city. We have this Taltech city, we have Ülemiste city, we have a Technopole area, we have the creative cities, and they are very famous. So these are the people you can always approach and learn and discuss how actually they have made a difference. And it comes to the question also about digital nomads, and this is also something that really happens, that we need to look at. This is not a difference from the citizens who already live here, so we need to welcome these people. And one of the projects which is carried out is also the International House in Tallinn. So there are also services from government.
What is the project about?
This is a project that, you know, when people who are coming to live to Estonia, so they usually have to first go to and identify themselves in different places, government organizations. So this is just one place, one international house located in Ülemiste city, where you can just get all the know-how of different services, and also to get the ID, and also a lot of things that the state and the local government is offering. And it also perhaps one day has more like this atmosphere around it, so the people who actually come here, so they can learn from each other. So it comes to this local societies within the city.
Yeah, I just had this reflection that we could have this kind of house in every neighborhood in Tallinn. Just to, because when I've read about, as little as I know actually about smart cities, what I've often come across is that they have this kind, I don't know actually how they're called, but they are like small fab labs or places where local people can somehow interact with the innovation. It sounds weird, but, or it's, yeah. But actually what it means is like lay people from the street, they just, they have their problems, and in this fab lab they can find solutions and support to solve the problems. But we don't have any of these kinds of things in Tallinn, and or what are your plans?
There are like this application which is called Avalin, Open City. This is where the citizen engagement is taking place, and it's quite interactive. So for example, if there is a new recreation area or something new coming in a town in a certain area, so everyone can just give the feedback, and it's a very practical way. So if there is a need to move, for example, one pedestrian crossing or just a street light, then this is a feedback that can be given.
We joined, I think in the end of last year, we joined from Taltech side the biggest consortium of fab labs that was initiated by MIT, and we had like this initiation event as well, and now we actually have been working on getting Tallinn City involved as well, so let's see how this goes. But the aim is actually to start Fab Lab activities on Estonia side as well. And I think
this would mean more than just going to a website where I can introduce my.
And our thing is what we have signed a partnership with City of Tallinn with aim to develop a living lab model for the city this year, and we are actually currently working on this. And this living lab model pretty much means that how citizens can be involved in the new developments by city, and we have been investigating this conceptually, and the agreement is that if this model, what we propose, is something city likes, when we actually go and deliver it as well. So we are working on this model currently as well. And I just zoomed back a bit to the question about like actual innovations, and then and also it's relates to this digital nomads as well, and this point as well that innovation is very often but not driven by the city governments, but it's more accidental, and I think if I travel or if I'm in a position that I go to new cities, when I actually benefit most from this ingenious platform of geographical positioning, meaning that whichever smartphone you have, you can actually locate yourself from everywhere. It's pretty much open data platform, and it works all over the world globally. It's using the satellites for that, and with GPS or similar technologies. And this means that now if I go to any other new city, and I'm very bad in routing, and very often I do not manage to everywhere to use the Google Maps as well. And so what I do is that I store my location every time, and then like everywhere where I have been, like from New Delhi to New York to Buenos Aires, even if I'm there for the first day, I go out jogging after I have stored my location, and I start jogging in a random direction. And then at some point I just put on that direct me back, and there's no data connection, mobile data connection. It's just GPS. It works everywhere, and it's so universal that it always has guided me back. And that really has changed my life, because first of all, I like to travel. I can actually go jogging as well, and I can go easily walking as well. And I'm not that good in understanding and learning city maps beforehand, so I never do it. I just go, I store my location, and I go randomly out and see it. Other thing which has changed my behavior a lot has been this revolution from phone to smartphone. So this has actually changed pretty much everything in terms of how I actually work, how I live, and also like how I commute in the cities. So for example, you can use this kind of taxi sharing platforms thanks to smartphones. You can take pictures, and you can work while you are cycling or whatever you do. So you're always like online. And the third thing that drastically also is linked to this, just my personal experience, is that this radical change in roaming prices within the EU has really changed my own personal experience in traveling between the cities as well, because 5 years ago you actually had to pay a lot when you used mobile data connection in a new city in Europe. Now it's pretty much the same, or there's no additional cost, and you can very easily open whatever application, see where are the best hotels, where are the best places to eat, and you can always trust this platform wherever you are. in a way that very often, if I go to new or old places, I even don't check in or check out before where to go, how to go, where to stay, but you are relying on this, and it makes your life so much easier. And now coming back to those digital nomads, I think this is what digital nomads are expecting as well, that we have similar platforms all over the cities that are working cross-borderly. And we here from Estonia's side, we are sometimes we are in our e-government domain, we are like the due positive example because we have like Austrian and German professors that have been living in Estonia for 5 or 10 years, and they still do not manage to use the ID cards because this is something so new or so different, and they don't like it and they don't want to use it. But the question is that if we have like more people coming to work, first of all, how open they are to new technologies, and secondly, how well we actually explain it. Because if you look at it from the user perspective, it is not that intuitive if you start using the ID card, and if you start doing all the software upgrades, and when you actually are Apple user as well, you see in other areas, and very often actually at the same time, if all the services are digital, when those digital nomads were asking that, okay, this is already too much that I don't follow it anymore. And very often we see with international students as well that it's not that straightforward, it's not that easy to follow and to be up to date. And I think the smoother it is, the easier it is.
You mean the process?
And to move from city to city as well.
So that the good solutions, good innovation solutions, they are the simple, easy ones that are possible to use anywhere.
They're always simple and easy ones. If something gets very complicated and blockchain enters the game and conceptually it gets very, very difficult, then very often it is actually harder to actually implement.
So maybe it's a good point to move a bit forward with the talk and talk about different actors that are important while driving the innovation. Because as much as I've understood till now, is that we have the government who can do things and who can be provider, for example, of the data. But then we also need, I don't know actually how much we need citizens. I would like to clarify what's the role of the citizens in this process, and to maybe generate these kinds of small and simple solutions that you were just talking about. Or how could we, or what is actually the role of the citizens? How could we encourage them?
In my perspective, first of all, from city government perspective, there are two things what city governments can do. First of all, first question is about their collaboration model, meaning that how open they actually are to do joint innovations with startups like you, with universities, with other companies, and so on. And the second one, a bit linked to that, is how the city itself is procuring its solutions and how open the city is in offering new solutions.
So, Thomas, how open are you?
I would like to say, keep it short and simple as one of the methods. So please talk to me and turn to me, and you will find my contact. And I'm really, really happy to see that what new ideas you have, what are the approaches you are bringing to Tallinn, what you would like to do here, and I can also openly share you that what we can do, because behind me there are thousands of people working for the city, and we will definitely find the way how to, maybe it's not that fast in some cases, but I'm really happy to help you to prepare and how to make this like next step forward.
But actually, while preparing for this panel, we had a little talk between us, and you were also explaining that what you, I don't know if miss is the right word, but what you would like the people who approach the city with their idea to do beforehand is to do some kind of an analysis, or to maybe think through the actual possibilities, or what would be your recommendations from the people sitting in the hall and maybe willing to approach you?
Yeah, sure. So first thing is that just come up with an idea and explain it. So this is the first stage. Of course, when we come to this more, let's say, technology-related projects, and of course, there is not a very good approach and very resultful if you just say that what the city wants. We have this solution, what the city expects. Let's do it. So it's need a preparation from both sides to understand that actually there is some information available just to prepare yourself, or just to also get the hints at how you can look at this process level. So usually how the processes are working, so you need to disrupt, I should say, these processes, and not so much that let's go and do something together, because of course with public sector in general, it all comes to at the end about the procurements, different other processes behind that, approvals, investment planning. So it takes some time, but we can be together faster if we prepare and have the conversation with each other.
And our thing is that public sector nor universities nor nobody actually has the understanding of the best technologies and best solutions. It is actually a question to the market, and market always is having the most up-to-date understanding which are the most innovative solutions what cities could do, and I had one very good example of in one project where we did this kind of like totally open mini pilots competition for the cities of Vantaa, Helsinki, and Tallinn, and over there the logic was that we didn't put any classical restrictions, because usually when cities are doing their competitions, we're saying that the company needs to have turnover like this, it needs to work in a sector like this, and so on and so on. And in the end, there are like 5 pages of restrictions, and only like two companies that can do it. Not like two, but very often we end up in situations like this. But I think like this innovation process could be turned upside down, and this is something we did as well, and we proved that actually if you leave it totally open and you just define the problem, for example, the problem is that we need like a smarter way how vehicles and people move between the cities or from one city area to another city area, and you just say it's an innovation challenge, and you attract all over the ideas to solve this challenge, and you actually finance the ones that are the best conceptually. And based on real open competition, and that means that there can be like a startup company that offers a solution, there can be a big company, or there can be even like individual person, or even grandmother can just think that, okay, I know how to do it, and can
But you already had the competition, so you have the results for it.
So we did.
How did it turn out?
We had,
because it really sounds amazing.
Yeah, we had like we set it up in a couple of months. Usually, like you do things like this, city level, you plan it for years, and when you set it up, we set it up. Just the project started 1st of September, and in December that was already out, and we received something like I think 60 ideas from all over the place, mainly from Estonia and Finland. And we funded 5 of them. So there was real competition, really like
so you
interesting.
would call it that success?
Yeah. But model-wise, truly success, because it's totally open. It's citizen can be involved, companies can be involved, universities can be involved. We're not saying that this has to be this type of organization, and we're not even saying that it has to be a company. And the other thing what we did was that this also part of that is that you create as little bureaucracy as possible, because some companies actually or startup companies submitted their ideas during the Barcelona, or at least one was during the Barcelona Smart City Week, and it took the company 1 hour to actually, because it was a web interface, very easy. You just write who you are and pretty much say what's the team and what's the resources and what's the concept. And 4 categories, very simple, very easy. You don't need to go and download whichever formats. You don't need to, because...
But it wasn't, you didn't use the public money? Or it
yes,
was,
yes.
Okay.
And yes, we used public money. And actually, the funny thing is that like we couldn't repeat it on the City of Tallinn level because this was too new to the city, and just city processes were not in place. But the City of Helsinki level, we already managed to do it, and so legally it is possible. It just takes more time, and that means that cities actually need to evaluate the ideas as well, based on their content, not based on who is offering the lowest speed. Because from a city perspective, the easiest way to do competitions and procurements is that to just say that the lowest bid wins, and this is just administratively easiest one. And I have been involved in this process, and we have done other several projects like this as well. It is possible, it is hard, but I see that the most innovative cities are moving towards
so,
that.
Thomas, what do you think? Could it also be possible on Tallinn level?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the thing also as a topic is that it's time to innovate in Tallinn. It's really a time.
But why? That would actually have been my last question. But we can start right now.
Because there are very urgent topics on the table. And of course, one of them is about self-sustainable for the cities. This is a major topic. It's not in the future somewhere. We need to act now. And this also brings in mind that it's not only about how we, let's say, have the bicycle strategy or how to change the public transport, but it's also about efficiency in the buildings, in the green areas, how to do that, how to actually change the minds of the citizens or the visitors who come to Tallinn. So these are the topics which I really raise on the table, and look forward that you approach us and say that, okay, this is where we can make some change.
But the second part of my question would have been that what are you offering to the people willing to innovate Tallinn, or how you are enabling it?
Yes, of course. When we talk about prototypes or having this proof of concept projects, then there are some resources we can plan. There is also some activities that we can do together to promote or to raise interest. Or we have a very good ecosystem in Tallinn where our other stakeholders, like the universities, we have several incubators in Tallinn. We have also some other opportunities to discuss and continue with the ideas, which are maybe not in an actionable way.
And our thing is that just this time question, that there is no point in innovating cities from a technological perspective. We don't need new technologies. This is not needed. Obviously, maybe from a technology company side, you think that this is important. It's not important. What is challenging is that all over the world, cities are growing by population, by power, and so on. More and more people are living in cities, and quite often the areas are not growing with the same space as cities. So we know that 50 years ago, 30% of people lived in cities. Now it's already over 50% globally, and this is what you can see in most cities. And especially in the capital cities. So the City of Tallinn is growing at least 10% per day. So new registered people, last 10 years has been 10 people per day. And those 10
Many
people...
more cars?
Yeah, those 10 people need to live somewhere. They are producing waste. They are moving around. They are bringing their cars. Yeah.
There's a good example that if we want to keep the CO2 levels the same as in Helsinki, for example, in terms of transport, then every third Tallinn citizen should skip the car.
Yeah.
So is it possible? So it's more about the mindset, what we should do.
And our thing is that the big cities are even growing biggerly, like city of Moscow grows 400 people a day. And if you just imagine that you have 400 people like literally walking to the city and everybody is having their stuff with them as well, and this is the net effect, meaning that even if 100 leaves, then 500 actually enters. So there are like 400 new people in the city, and in the city of Tallinn, at least 10 people are entering the city every day, or are starting to live in the city, even if some leave or this natural growth effect. But it is just a fact, and that means that we need really to face it. And we need to deal with that, and we need new solutions, how to solve increased mobility, how to organize better environmental issues, everything like this, and for that we need new technologies, and this is where actually technology can help as well. But cities do not need technologies just because of fun, but they need actually to deal with actual problems. And I think that comes to this innovation competition part as well, that the future can be that the cities actually define their core challenges.
Exactly. I was just about to ask that, Thomas, have you write down your main challenges you want to, because what you said previously was that please approach me and we can start solving the problems. But do you actually know what are the things you want to solve?
Yes, we actually preparing that, and then especially after the summer time, we will approach more with the concrete information. What are the challenges we see, and where we have more resources available. But I also would like to emphasize that it's not only the challenges we need to tackle, but also the positive things, how to keep them. And Tallinn is one of the cleanest air is in the city of Tallinn. We also have a very, very good level of safety here. So it's not that easy actually to keep these positive things. So we need to put this one also on the table.
And that's just logically, if you have more people on the same square meter or square kilometer, automatically it increases stress. Whatever, like stress for food, stress for air, and it automatically creates more pollution as well. And if you actually, the aim is to hold the current very good situation, then this also needs dealing with, and this also needs innovating. So this is like everyday action you need to do.
But your position, Thomas, in Tallinn City Government is in Ettevõtlusamet.
It's Enterprise Department.
Yes, but how it connects with that, because actually we haven't talked here much about enterprises, but more about the big challenges that we are facing. How you connect actually with the other departments in the...
Yes, it's more like how to approach or how to bring down the silos. So it's a very classical way we do it. So I'm just digging the holes at the moment into different silos. But
you don't have but the thing that you're preparing is actually like kind of smart city strategy or the goal.
Yes, but we cannot call it just a strategy, because strategies are on a paper. We need more like action plan. And as was emphasizing this green economy or keeping the city safe, these are topics that we need to find out that what can we do next. And without any strategy, I really believe in that. And of course, we need this kind of roadmap, that what kind of stakeholders we need, what kind of, let's say, new initiatives we need to support. Because we still don't, coming back to the keynote from our president, so there is new topics for the cities, for the countries on the table. And this is where we need to take the proactive way as well. So, and I think that we really see that it's not only the local government, but also the stakeholders. As I mentioned, we have the cities within the cities. We have all these incubator networks. We have also very good partners globally, as friendship towns, etc. So, and good cooperation across the bay. So Tallinn-Helsinki could be a very motivative role model for the other countries as well, how actually the cities can do the cooperation.
Mm. And we have seen that bigger companies have already understand it, that they need to collaborate with new ideas, and new ideas are not coming anymore only from universities, but also from the market and from startup companies as well. And some cities have actually taken this model as well and applied it. Like city of Amsterdam is actually quite open, and we have programs for like joint actions with startup companies, for example, just to get the freshest ideas and concepts. And I think this is something the city of Tallinn could do as well.
I'm looking forward. Actually, we need to have like a children drawing competition. What would the city look like? Because we need to listen the citizens, and also to listen to these people who actually have the whole future in front of them in this city.
So with this, what you just said, I think it's good to ask from the public if there's anything else you would like to know, ask, comment. Please. Yeah. Okay.
You're talking about urban development and of course smart cities. We've been talking about that the last 10, 15 years. But what is the actual impact on citizens? Because we see a lot of loneliness, we see education changing, elderly need different help. So how do you look at it from the point of view from Tallinn City? Because I think those are the societal challenges. And of course, you know, you can use technology, but that's not the main goal.
Yeah.
How do you look at it?
That's a good question. To be honest, we don't measure this happiness index in a city level, but what we have seen is that there are new areas and there are new communities within the city, and we see that how they are combining, or there are certain, let's say, initiatives from local level. So people are moving within the city, how they actually expect something new from the city government level. And yeah, I think it is more like driven by the changes you see in cultural level in the city. That's the most visible thing.
I have like one comment on this as well, but my supervisor, who was involved with the smart city area as well, because I did my PhD on smart cities. Now is recruiting a next PhD student from Bhutan with interest how to actually measure happiness of people living in different places. And one case is definitely Estonia as well, and on the city level as well, because in the end we want the citizens of cities be happy. And somehow it is not a question like in the end that if a GDP is 10% bigger in one city, in another city, the question is that is it a better environment? And there is no other concept than this global happiness like measurement somehow or moving towards that we actually take this on as well. And maybe this could be like a research project. Yeah, but this is more like indicator based, which takes place like average salary, like and all macro indicators. Yeah, but yeah, and then there are some approaches to actually measure the happiness of people as well. And now the question is that how to make it more operational, to say that for example GDP measurement is fully operational. Governments are taking
quality of life, quality of life, and really to understand, to dig into this measurement systems. So overall, yes, we don't have Apple Store in Tallinn. We still don't have the very fast internet, interrail connections, etc. So we still have something else, and you guys will do it with us.
Yes, one thing I think I really welcome that you invited people to kind of propose stuff. It's a pity through the app we cannot actually send you a message. We have to wait for you to actually accept us on LinkedIn, so it doesn't work too well. And then actually my question was the following. I actually offer quite a innovative solution to governments, tourism boards, regions, cities, attractions, and I often face the same thing. Even though I offer it for a fraction of the cost, they often really give it either to the friends, you know, and kind of the typical nepotism thing, or they just really tick the box that they have an app and that's it, and they don't care how good it is, which is really we need actually working solution, not just tick the box, we have something, right? And that's the biggest problem I face globally when I actually talk to cities.
It's just a question of how transparent the cities are. And in our case, yes, we would like to see more transparency here. And treating all these very good ideas equally.
So maybe the example you were talking about is a good way to...
Yeah, because now city governments and governments and on the EU level as well, everybody is taking action if economy is growing or falling. So GDP is like a standard for everything. If GDP is increasing, there are steps linked to that. For example, pensions are automatically increasing as well in most cases. If not, they are actually decreasing in some cases or remaining the same. And this is automatic link, but there is no link between happiness of people in cities and actions by city governments. So maybe there could be like such automatic links as well, or algorithms even, so to say, that if people are getting less happier, then let's say automatically some politicians would be re-elected or whatever, but somehow like this kind of aspects. Yeah.
So, but unfortunately, the time is over.
Yeah.
Reed is here.
The time is up.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
I know. You could talk forever.
Yeah.
Actually, no.
But yeah, thank you so much. Give them a big applause.
Yeah.